Everything in personal finance can be distilled to three basic principles. So number one is just spend less than you earn, which essentially means save money. Number two is make the money you have work for you. So once you've saved it, invest it. Make sure that it grows. Make sure that you take advantage of compound interest. And number three is once you've saved and invested, protect it, making sure you have an emergency fund. So there are a lot of people who write in and say that Mint has helped them get out of debt. You know, they had $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 worth of debt, and simply by seeing where they were spending all of their money and what their interest rates were, and finding potentially lower interest rates, they were able to pay off that debt, often within 6 months or a year.
My sister-in-law introduced me to Mint.com and basically just told me about this really neat website and said, hey, you should log on to Mint.com. It'll really help you track your spending. It's very user-friendly, time-efficient, and it'll give you access to your accounts much faster than any other way that you could possibly get into your accounts. The feature I like most about Mint.com is that it will categorize your spending for you and really detail exactly where your money is going. And before, I really didn't have a very good idea of exactly where all of my money was going. So it was a really eye-opening experience once I started using Mint.com. And I believe that I identified some areas that I need to be a little bit more efficient in with my money.
Since the early 19th century, the stock market, although it's taken a big dive this year, has returned an average of about 7% return. And so if you put about $200 a month in for the next 5 years, and you were 25 or 30 when you started on that, you'd have about $1 million by the time you retire.
I want to make sure we're saving money and we can retire when we want to retire. You know, we've got life plans that we work with, financial professionals on, and this is just a great tool to help us realize and achieve those goals.
It's really opened my eyes to the importance of investments, and boy, it really showed me that I need to become a little bit more conscientious about my savings.
It gives us a GPS of where we are now, where we want to go in the future, and it provides us the tools to get there too. And it provides us the tools that we can customize in our own way. It doesn't tell us exactly how we need to get there, but it allows us to decide what we want to do in a fashion that we like. That's really big for me.
You never know when you're going to lose your job or get into a car accident or need medical help or some sort of procedure. So we recommend that people have an emergency fund, and we recommend if you're in your 20s and you don't have a house or too many other financial obligations, about $10,000 to $15,000. And if you're a little bit older, if you have a family, if you have a house, if job loss would be an even greater burden on you financially, you probably want $30,000 or more. And the last advice on preparing for the unexpected is only 29% of renters actually have renter's insurance, even though you can get it for about $150 a year. And so even if you're paying that for 5 or 10 years, it's going to be less than the cost of replacing a computer, a couch, or your belongings if they're lost, stolen, or damaged in a fire.
This question comes from Joanne, Jennifer, and Adrian from Mint's Facebook page. And they all had basically the same question, which is, what's a refinance and how do you know when it makes sense to refinance? Great question, guys, especially today now that rates are kind of at historic lows. There's a lot of people out there considering a refinance. Basically what a refinance is you're taking a new loan out and you're using the proceeds of that loan to pay off your existing loan. Now, there's a lot of reasons why people might refinance. You might take cash out of your property, using it to access the equity, or you may be going from an ARM loan to a fixed loan. But for the most part, what we see a lot is what we call a rate and term or a rate reduction refi. And essentially what that is you're taking out almost the exact same loan that you have currently, and you're taking the proceeds of that to pay off your existing loan at a better, so you're ending up with a better rate of interest. How do you know when it makes sense? There's a lot of tools that are out there for you on the internet that kind of cost compare. Obviously with a mortgage, there's significant costs that can be involved in them. With that, there are some cool tools out there that you can use to factor in the closing costs and how long it will take for those to pay off. But the rule of thumb I like to give people is to ask your lender for the no-cost price. What could you get that loan for at zero cost, where they pay the fees? And once you get that rate, if your rate is less than what you're paying on your current mortgage, then it's a very good indication that is a good time for you to refinance. And then from there, you can kind of decide, do I want to pay points? Do I want to incur more costs and maybe get perhaps even a better rate by incurring some of those fees?
There's a misconception that to be good with money, you need a lot of it. Not true. What you need to be good with money is everyday management. Whether you're planning for yourself or for your whole family, there are 3 basic steps you can take to make the most of your money. 1. Create a budget. 2. Set savings goals. And 3. Tackle your debts. When put into practice, these steps can have a big impact, not only on your monthly budget, but on your overall financial future. One of the first steps to better money management is to create a budget and stick to it. This might sound simple, but you'd be surprised how few people actually do it. You can think of your budget as your guide to reaching your financial and personal goals. If you have trouble covering all your expenses each month, a budget can help you avoid overspending. That's because your budget can help you see and understand exactly where your money is going and whether or not your spending is in line with your personal goals. The next step is to set savings goals. With your budget in place, building your savings will be that much easier because you'll know how much extra money you have each month to allot to your goals. One of the best savings goals to start with is an emergency fund. Building up an emergency fund to help cover unexpected expenses like a sudden medical bill, major home or car repair, or even a job loss can help you avoid going into debt when life throws you a curveball, which it will. Instead of borrowing money to cover these emergencies, you'll already have the money saved up, and this could end up saving you a lot more money in the long run. Start by building up 3 months' worth of expenses as a goal. Once you've established an emergency fund and are living within your budget, you can then figure out some long-term savings goals. Whether you decide to plan for your retirement, or save for a home improvement, college, or even a well-deserved vacation, you'll be better able to set aside some money and have a timeline for reaching your goals. The third step is to tackle any debts you have. First, as you're working to pay them down, you'll probably want to stop adding to the debts you already have. The less debt you have, the easier it'll be to get out from under it. It could also be helpful to know what your debt is costing you each month. Once you know how much your debt costs, you can create a plan that helps you reduce it and eventually pay it off. The sooner you get started, the more money you can save. It's worth noting that managing your debt and your savings go hand in hand. For instance, if you have a debt with a very high interest rate, it may make sense to focus on paying it down at the same time, or even before you build your entire emergency fund. As you make a plan to tackle your debt, setting target goals can help you stay on track as you actually see and feel the progress you're making. These 3 steps are the basic components of money management, and it's easy to see how they can work together. By keeping a budget, you'll know what you have available to accomplish your savings goals and tackle your debts. Having an emergency fund can help you avoid adding any new debt. And occasionally checking in, reviewing your budget from time to time, can help you set long-term savings goals, like a down payment on a home, as your priorities and circumstances change. Now that you have an understanding of the basics, why not take the next step? Being smarter with your money, learning new tips and techniques, can help you today and down the road.